Well, hey, Internet, it's Steve at Thousand Year Homes. Welcome aboard. So this is the new year, New Year's Day. This is the second part of my review of life, looking into 2024, what I've got done. Important if you're a solo builder like me, building off grid. Maybe you can see what I've gotten done and see where you're at in life. I'm using 2 shipping containers to build. And so we'll talk about it. I'm standing right now in a room that I finished up last year. So, and all I had was this room, just this one, right? So just a small room right there where the dividers are, where the Victrola ends. There's, that is all that I've gotten, all that I had done, with the stained glass window and all that. So including the drywall. I did all that in 2023 because I wanted to make sure my design idea worked, that I didn't get container rain, that I didn't get mold, that, a lot of design things that I've done have not ever been done. So what I'm doing is I'm laminating the environment. I'm not using spray foam. I'm not using the conventional things. I'm using mineral wool, 5/8 inch drywall. I'm doing flat stud and timber framing inside because you see the supports up there. I will have a poured roof when I'm done. So this is all that I had done. And I was living in a pop-up camper, which I've subsequently sold. So let's take a look at it. All right. So I went through and I put a high level of what I got done in what month, scribbled in here with my handwriting. So we're just going to take a look. So, all right. Starting then in January of 2024, I finished this out in rough. And each section's in about 4-foot section. So I've got a Jack and Jill bathroom. That would be, it will be my office for now, but eventually it'll be a full up changing room. This will be the restroom and facility. There's a bathtub just sitting there. There's the bedroom with the design. And none of this existed. It was all just bare wall. There wasn't any studs, there wasn't anything. Let's go ahead and take a look at the other shipping containers so you get an idea of where I was at. So this was effectively where I was at in the room we were just standing. Just a raw shipping container, right? Just a raw shipping container. So that's where I was at, and it was probably cluttered with half the stuff that's sitting here. So January of last year was a month of weather. Hurricane blew in, dumped 10 inches all at once, super freeze, super cold. This, remember, was bare steel. And I was using heat in here because I had the small office set up. So I had propane heaters in here. Well, propane generates moisture. And so you can have heat of 2 different kinds. You can have dry heat, like electric, or you can have moist heat like a fireplace, which wood burning, that kind of thing, generates moisture. But the worst of all is propane, which is 100% moisture. And so all of this was bare metal, and it did what's called container rain. Now, not bad, but once or twice during that month of extreme temperatures, because this is, when it's just steel, it just radiates whatever the outside is. The black body of space heats and cools this thing right through the dew points in a heck of a hurry. As soon as sun goes down, heck of a hurry. So I had a little bit of container rain. So I used that to double check how I had done this part. And I did not have any container rain, even with a wet environment of propane in this office area. So I validated that indeed this thing worked. So starting in January, even though I had to leave because of the cold and rain, physically leave this property because it was just too cold to live in, I started insulating all of this wall. So every 4 foot roughly I put in a timber because I'm going to support concrete. And every 4 feet I went ahead and put in mineral, I'm sorry, I said mineral right away. Plastic foil bubble wrap, flat against the metal, then mineral wool, then 5/8 inch drywall, and then this final skim coat. So 5/8 inch drywall gives it a heck of a density. This thing feels snug, tight, really good. So that's what I was doing in January. All of the mineral wool and the ceiling I wasn't done. Most of these logs, many of them I hadn't even cut down and sawed. Some I had to buy. Lumber prices were all crazy. So what I did then in January of last year is I went ahead and I got all of the studs in place. So in January I had gotten all of this done, and I stopped the container rain. Except the drywall wasn't up. So February obviously was a month of drywall. So all of this drywall, it's all custom. It's pretty good shape. This is just a scratch coat on it. The only thing I did poorly, I think, was the power boxes. So and I did have to add some power boxes in while I worked in January. But not bad for a guy half-time building, right? So I got all of the drywall in. You can watch every video I ever did. You can watch, so you can see how hard these 5/8 inch, 4 foot, 12 foot sections that I put up there. They're heavy. They're customized. They're cut in to go around timbers and beams. I used anywhere I thought there might be moisture. I used green board in the bathroom. Underneath the windows is actually hardy plank, all mold resistant plaster, all mold resistant tape, all mold resistant drywall and backers. Everything, the mineral wool's mold resistant. I don't want moisture problems in this house at all. So in addition, then in January I had floods. So as soon as I got everything around in here, while days, if I had time to work outside, cutting in swales, cutting in ditches, and the road was washed out. So we're talking car size gaps, and it's a private road, so it's our responsibility to do. So in January and February of this year, I got all of this done. So that's what you can complete in drywall, frame, electrical. In 2023, I got the windows cut in and the electrical system installed and this thing raised. So in 2024, I got it framed in, rough framed in. I haven't finished the walls. I'm going to work on that this year, January and February. So a big part of my year, especially the videos, has been working on Blaze and Hank here. Now, Hank's a very tame horse. He just needs you to be, just take care of his hooves. This guy, when I first came to him, first got him, he was an adopted horse, or I'll call him a rescue adopted, and highly aggressive. You could not get near him. I'm holding a camera, I can pet him. I'm working on his ears to bring him forward, not allowing bad behavior, and I'm practically there. Let me go ahead and feed both of these. So Blaze has been a big project throughout the year. Again, I love the outdoors more than the inside. So taking care of the horses, not a sacrifice. Old Hank here is 38 years old, probably somewhere between 32 and 38, and keeping him healthy. When I first got him, the fella that owned him just abused him, starved him, didn't give him food, didn't give him water. I still got a little bit of ribs here that I'm working on, but I give him special diet and take good care of him. His hair, when I first got him, his hair was missing on the front of his face, and he had blight and mange, and just didn't deserve all of that. And this horse had such food aggression problems. He'd bite and kick and lash out. And look at him stand. He knows right there. I got him trained. One thing that I've been working on with Blaze here is not to lay his ears back. I don't want him laid back. So what I do before I feed him is I do this. Scratch him forward. Get his ears moved forward. Come on. And, it has been working. He's not going to do it during the camera, but you could still see that I have a better, there we go. Just get him to relax those ears. And by getting him to do that, Obviously, he used to get in trouble. Every time he does that, he thinks he's going to get punished. Come on. Come on, big boy. Like, I couldn't have done this, you know. Come on. Come on. Come on. Out. There you go. See, he would have lashed out at me or kicked at me or whatever previously. But through the training and unpinning the ears, you know, I'm slowly getting him around. Listen, unless you've got immense patience, don't think you're going to run somewhere and adopt a horse, high-risk horse. When they put them in those kill lots, that's usually a horse that's been abused so much they're super hard to redeem. So, but I enjoy this. He's just a yard ornament. I'm not planning to ever ride him, but there we go. He's been off and on the whole year long, and I'm very pleased with his behavior. I should mention one thing about January, February is part shortages. 5/8 inch drywall, they couldn't find it. They didn't, you know, whatever COVID did seems to still be. Manufacturers have lost their minds. It's hard, like the electrical system, you know, I could get the power boxes and the conduit, but none of the washers, or none of the 90-degree bend, or, you know. But indeed, February was held up because I had to drive all over the place to find drywall. Let's see, I went and bought from Home Depot, and the dumb kids there, they tore the straps instead of loading it all as one piece, the two sides together face to face, and got a bunch of bits and pieces of broken drywall corners in it, and then split them in my car and ruined, you know, what little bit of drywall I could find. So, you know, I'm 100 miles out, so I got to drive in, find out they ruined it, take it back. Oh my gosh, it was just so much hard work. So, all of those kind of things you'll be facing too. So behind me is a road that I've just put in this year. So February I had floods. This was underwater. So water management's a big part of what I've been doing over the last couple of years. But we'll do the whole road. This is the start. This is some of my drive. This was completely underwater, absolute mud in February when the storms came. And then I had Hurricane Beryl. I had some other hurricanes come in and cause problems. But we'll take a drive. I'll put you on stop motion. We'll do the whole driveway, and we'll see what we all think. But all of this rebuilt was me this year. Other owners have done it before. It's a private road, so about a mile long or so. It's hard to build a mile-long road with small tractors, but you know, I did my best. All right, so there's a video of me driving here, quick time, stop motions. It's about a mile or so, a little more than that. Now, privately maintaining a road for a mile is a lot of hard work, and it's really beyond the means of people, in my opinion. But it's what you have to do when you have it, right? All right, so I'm going to take a stop here. February into March, torrential rains came. This road that has a small crown now actually dipped down like that, and all the water would run down the middle. And this spot here that I've slowly built up, it was as deep as a car. You know, it's clearly 20, 25 foot, 40 foot of 2-foot swale down in, held water. We all had to drive along the fence here to even get around, and even then half our car was in. So all of this, I went and got well, I brought in gravel, you know, to raise a crown. I dug the ditches. You can't really see easily, but if I do this, you can see that I cut that in. That doesn't just happen. It was weeks worth of work for me to rebuild a mile road. So spine's February and March pretty much. All right, now I'm into March, right, of 2024. So the grand door here was most of what March was in the way of construction. The only thing I had was the big cargo doors, and as you see over there on that side, all I had was cement blocks. Cement blocks going up to cargo doors. It was hard work. So in March, I went ahead and I had bought these at a Habitat for Humanity for $75. They are super heavy. And if you'll notice, this is all timbered, right? And most of these timbers are hand cut. You'll see the door actually closes in on the timber. So to hand cut and carve out and build something like this that's water and airtight. So I spent most of March doing that. In April was the transom window here that I just happened to find in April in a thrift store. So I went thrifty. But this was most of what March was inside, as well as the plastering jobs. I tape and plaster everything. So the drywall was hung, but I went ahead and I plastered all of that. So March and April, big doors take a long time. Doors take a long time. People are like, oh, the house went up so fast. Now nothing's happening. Doors and windows take forever. So in addition, I bought a bunch of material to turn these into a Spanish castle door. So I have two doors here. I can go ahead and close up the house if I went away. Just removing the top Cordova pieces and close that all up. So, and the stairs, I built those in June or something, but we'll stick with March. In addition, I had some other things. So in March, I turned the soil on the two gardens. I've got a big round one, a full moon garden, and this garden here, it looks like a sliver moon, waxing and waning moon, if you will. So March is big on that. Also, I got a vet to come in and a farrier. I cut the horse hooves myself mostly, but I did have a farrier. I haven't not since had a farrier come back. And I've called. We need more people taking care of big animals. It's very hard on my back to do the horseshoeing myself, but I got that done, in March. While I was doing the garden work here, and I need to turn it for this year, I also went ahead and cut in swales, and this was all flooded. The floods had come in. This was all underwater. So I'm trying to manage the water and get it into the gardens. So this will have irrigation spokes in it, and then the swale. You can hardly notice it, but there's a swale that runs out here into the next garden, which will have a cedar gate. It'll fill that up, and then a final swale, which I haven't cut in. It'll be a this year project. A final swale will come out of the back of this garden. In back there, I'll have sunflower garden, which will be really pretty. So while I was cutting those swales, I cut in a small retention pond, and I started planning for a bigger pond for the end of 2024. But did a lot of work in March for water management. Building a road, man, that was a lot of hard work. And then doing all this, my tractor got stuck. It was just slop. But I got it done, and heading then into April where things start getting more blue sky and sunshiny. So in April, since I had the drywall up, I went ahead and brought in dressers, stage, and I formally moved out of the pop-up camper, although I was still in it a lot. But, bathtub in, sink in. I set up the office formally. Just wanted to see what the flow was like, and really, really enjoying it. So April was moving in the furniture, pre-staging. In addition to this, I have 100-year-old French tile that came out of a French chateau, and I scrubbed it and placed it and realized I've got just enough 340 square feet that I can do this entire side of the house in French chateau tile. I think they look great, and I've been cleaning them up, chiseling off the mud, getting them ready. I've got 2 pallets. 1 pallet's finished. We'll take a look at that. These are all scrubbed, ready to go down. But resurfacing them all was a big deal. So, and then around the other side, I have 2 more pallets like this around the back that I haven't taken care of yet at all. So April of 2024 was also when I brought in the majority of this logging. I did quite a bit of logging. So I have enough rafters to do one half of my big rafter. I have a bunch of oak there and there. I also have a sawmill that I'm setting up right there. So logging is a lot of hard work, everybody. So that's quite a bit of logging. In addition, we have everything that I logged and already put in the house. So, you know, but all of that came from there. I was using Alaska chainsaw mill, which means I was hand cutting all the timbers that I needed with a chainsaw and or buying a few from the store. During all of this logging was when I broke my tractor and ripped the front end loader right off. I had a load of logs at the same time, and like I said, a piece of cedar reached in and yanked the safety pin out of the front end loader and sheared the pins, and I lost my front end loader. It was quite a mess, a couple of days worth of mess. In May, I got a lot of the windows weatherized with oil, and it made a big difference. And I'll use whatever oil I want. There's different kinds of oils in here. I'm testing them. It ends up that they all look just about the same. So oil is oil, but boiled linseed oil was the cheapest, and it truly keeps terrain and moisture out. So in addition to the great door, I did that all in May. I had to build that window and put that window frame in here, this wooden one. So I got all this done. It's super nice. May was a good month for me. That's when I bought this Polaris. So super good deal, and that was a very popular video. I believe I paid $8 grand for it. I bought it from my daughter, who gave me friends and family discount, and it was worth more than that, but she was being kind to me. So I bought that in April. Also in April, I bought this dump truck out here. Now everything was gone in this dump truck as far as the piston was blown out, and then the electronics were shot in there. I've been working on it here or there. I don't need a dump truck yet, but when I earthbag this house or HyperAdobe it, that's when I'll need it. So I'm working on it a little bit at a time. I might make it a priority here shortly. And then all of the gates that we've been driving through, I got in the proper latches for them and fixed them up, and took care of that. I dug out a culvert that was across the road that had caved in. That was part of the road flooding problem. So digging out a culvert and rebuilding it, that took quite a bit. I've got culverts in there now, culverts in there, and then several of them up at the community road. That was a lot to do in May, all of that dump truck work and ditches and all of that, culverts, but I got it done. Heading into June, the heat kicked in. So I did a couple of things in June. Most importantly, these were all multicolored and patched quilt and whatnot, and I got tired of them being that much of an eyesore. So I went ahead. They all look like this, the blue and black and rusty, and this is the last thing I have to paint. But I went ahead and gave everything a coat of paint because while I was out thrifting, I found an enamel paint, 5 gallons, and so I took care of that. I had an airless sprayer, so I went ahead and took care of that and got all of that done. So June was mostly spent with that, but quite a bit of time with the animals as well. So June is also the time when I have to mow. And it's a solid week to mow 30 acres. And if I don't, then the silverleaf nightshade and the toxic stuff, they run wild. But also in June, I went ahead and got myself some chickens. And I have been so happy. There's their little coop. And water, all of that. It took a little while to configure all of that. I built that chicken coop out of hardy plank. I get a couple eggs a day, more eggs than I can eat. I boil them up and, have them for breakfast. But they're mine, and, it's nice to have them. But chickens took a lot. I took care of the horses some more. But mowing was the big thing. I mowed and I painted. That's a June in a nutshell. So July, well, 4th of July, but I had the kids come out and do Alex do her storytelling. That was fun. Took a couple of weekends of my time. And bear in mind, I am building part-time, so it's not like I have full 8-hour days on this. I do not. But Hurricane Beryl came in, dumped a ton of rain, knocked out power, really beat up Texas. So I left the farm because it was flooded again, but less flooded. I was getting there. The driveways held up. Went to the coast and oh my gosh, there was hurricane damage. I had rented a shipping container, which I do from time to time to get ideas, and the shipping container was welded multi-story, and indeed the hurricane had leaked in it, so it was inappropriate. So July was mostly spent fighting Hurricane Beryl, but I did get some other stuff done. But another setback I had in July is I was night mowing and I ran into a patch of blister beetles and they went down my shirts, and I got second-degree burns from blister beetles, and it really tore me up between everywhere where the beetles got in between my skin. I had a second-degree burn. Really, it got in my eyes. I just did not know you could get a swarm of blister beetles, but I did, and it was punishing. So I spent July hurricane, burned, a burn victim. It was rough. So I didn't get a lot done other than keeping up on the farm. That's all I did, keep up.
Well, August came along. Remember I told you about that hurricane, and it had destroyed my kitchen here. So this was all rebuilt in August. So, and my kitchen's an outdoor kitchen, cooler, camp stoves. I dig it. I don't mind it at all. I also got in a refrigerator that was a little battery-powered refrigerator. So it's been a real blessing. So this was in August, setting this up, and I should have done it earlier on. All my food's in there for the new year. I'm going to make a pizza today for New Year's celebration. So I really enjoyed that. So I got a decent kitchen set up, and it really should have been a higher priority than what I made it. But 18 months into my journey, I finally get a refrigerator.
So August and September, besides doing the kitchen work and recovering from the Hurricane Beryl, was
spent on this custom fence that I built. So I have a problem, and my problem is the cattle come up to the house as well as the horses. I want to make the house a separate entity. So this was the fence was down, it was in the ground, it was a real mess. So I made this out of custom pipe. And so I spent most of August and into early September doing that. This little pipe gate, super cool. So it just swings closed, and you can see it pivots right there. I greased everything up. I bought this from an old farmer on Craigslist for about $125. So now I can lock the cattle into the paddock, into here, instead of having them go into the house. I want to control access to that. So all of this was August into early September, the design work. These old barbed wires I found spooled up and in the ground in the back. So I brought them out. I'm hoping I get a little chickadee in there. We'll find out. But the horses I'm going to move out to this paddock for lunch and dinner rather than up by the house. They are... when they fed too much, they become demanding. You got to keep a good life balance. The horses are way out there, so you got to keep a good life balance with animals, or else they become unhappy. So having this fence done, and you see I'm starting on another fence way up there. You can see the little white stonework on it. That was also... But fence work is long work, especially when you also do concrete work. I did those pedestals on that. Leah helped me. And then I custom built these lamps. These work just fine at night. I really like the style design. I found some old horse head pipe caps that I put in. So it's just a hodgepodge of antique stuff that I put together into a finished gate. So that was my July and into September, just getting this closed in. In addition, the Polaris, which I had bought, I gave a complete overhaul to everything, all fluids, differentials, the entire 9 yards. I'm not a big mechanic, but I took it to the Polaris, or I went in and they, drop it off, we'll get to it in 2 months. Well, why would I drop it off? In what world is leaving your vehicle anywhere for months acceptable? So obviously they didn't want to do the work. To me, it would be, drop it off 3 days later, get it. But they're the only Polaris dealer way out here in nowhere land. So I did that. I did the fence, and then end of September, I started doing this entire fence row was down. So again, I'm trying to keep cattle in the cattle field and out of the house. They'll bang against, they're just awful. They're destructive. They get in my tents, they destroy my equipment, they lick everything, they chew my light cords. It's awful. But this was a big project, and I love the way that it turned out. I really do. So around my property is 1.2 miles of fence. Quite a bit of it's down, but I'm fixing it. So this particular thing to keep the cattle out started in October. I'm going to drive it. We'll do a speed drive because it was every bit of a half mile of fence. I'm still working on it. I've got Scott and Franz. They come out and help me, a couple of cowboys, but Scott's got another job, a full-time job. So it's been hard getting rebooted, but most of October they came out, they helped me clear this line and rebuild this fence. Apologize for the sound of the Polaris, but this is a lot of driving. Look at this little fence gate, garden gate we put in. That goes into the back of my house. So, but a great deal of these trees had fallen across. The growth, it looks clear now. The growth was way out here, 4 or 5 feet. So Scott, Franz, and I cleared that. It took a whole month. And then I had to log the post, right? The post, that's a brand new post right there, see? So anywhere where there's a rotten post, that'll be a gate into my sawmill area, so I'm working on that. I got a post right there that needs to go into that spot. So anyway, I just cleared the whole line rather than make the sharp turn around the residence. So I cleared the whole line. This is a good drive. It lets you know if you're gonna do off-grid, right? It's not just the house, right? It's more than the house. It's the house and the land. And the land's gonna take as much time. I talked about I mowed, right? It took a week to mow 30 acres. And shredding, cutting, posting, all of this. I still have to come pick all of these up from us doing that work. It's been 2 months now. I just haven't had time. But I cut all the cedar out of there and get coyote fence out of it. So, but you could see that all of that was into this fence line, and the fence line was tarred down. So I went ahead and rebuilt it all the way. Certain spots like this, I'm going to put a little mystery gate. Every football field's length, I have a gate in there. So that's part of the gate fence, and we'll take a look at some more here in a second. Well, in addition, okay, so we're talking September, October entirely on fences. So September, October 2024 on fences. Listen, if I paid somebody to come do that much fence work, they would have asked for $20,000 to $40,000. I kid you not. It's ridiculous what people are charging for a fence. So anyway, I appreciate Scott and Franz as they have time. I do pay them, but I don't pay them that kind of money. But I sold my pop-up camper to my nephew too, so I did that in October and September. But about a mile's worth of fence line is what we're all looking here. What I want to do is small enough paddocks that I can density graze the animals, which will help with weed control, as well as then I can get the fertilizer will be dense, and I can get them off the fields and let the fields recover. So this is all a new fence that I'm putting in, and so we cut it. These trees here that look nice right now, they look just like this, just a cedar scrub, and that mesquite's hard. And I'm going to be honest. Cedar is hard to work in. It's hard to breathe because of the pollen. It's a hardwood as well. So a lot of time I'm spending sharpening chains and doing work. But nevertheless, I've got it all the way to here. This is about 20% of this back paddock that I want. Need to run some more fence in there. Hoping Scott has some time to help me. So, September, October, all fencing, all these logs here, I cut them all out, logged them all. So it's, I save 12 to 15 bucks a log.
Times 100 logs, $1,500, right? So, but back to my earlier point, if you're building a house, you can either be gathering materials, you can be living, vacation, doing work, taking care of land. But as a solo builder, you can't do it all. You can do one thing at a time. And now I'm all the way clear into November, and we'll take a look at my most recent projects, those of you who've been following, because they're pretty big projects, and they're super important. And I'm learning a lot on how to stucco. I'm learning a lot about HyperAdobe. I'm managing the water. I'm finally maybe going to beat the water this year or next year for exterior. Interior, I just truck it in. So let's take a look at November, December. All right, y'all. We're standing right where November and December of 2024 was spent, right? This is where my investment of my precious free time went. So, and you might have similar problems, but it might be a mountain, it might be a road, I don't know. My problem is water management. I am both not having it and having it.
So I built this pond starting in November. It's a 45,000 gallon pond, and I built it with this little Mahindra, and that's a 12-inch bucket on the back. And let me tell you, after the drought, 120 days of no rain, the clay was hard as dragon scales. Doing this work was amazingly difficult. So in November, I laid out the design, which it already was a small retention pond because I fixed the drive and I just cut in a spillway here. But now I'm making it a formal pond. So I dug as deep as I thought would fill. And I'm close, see? It's half filled right now. So you don't want to dig a pond so deep that it's just empty all the time. So this pond was empty Christmas Day it rained. But it was empty up until that point. So in November, I dug this thing out. It's going to be, I'm 4 to 6 feet deep, depending on where the water ends. If it fills up and floods, I can dig out again some more and make more capacity. But when it floods and it goes up here. Going back to my swales I did earlier in the year, you could see that the flood goes right to the gardens and then out the back to a spillway back there. So really good design. November was a very good month. I built this underground culvert. All of the dirt that I pulled out of the pond, I got on top of this road that had been underneath water, and I had taken care of it. So there's already life in here. I could see raccoons coming in, and I heard frogs the day it filled up. I heard frogs, and it's winter, so the frogs spent the time digging out of the clay just long enough to ribbit, do their thing. So November, I dug it all out, and then in December, I built this Da Vinci bridge. And I built this Da Vinci bridge because I need to know how I'm going to build the roof between the two shipping containers. It's a 20-foot span, and that is 12. I was 12 foot. It's 10 right now. I cut 2 foot off just to make it a lower profile because it started there and went up pretty high. I felt, it was way high. It looked odd, so I cut it so it'd be lower. I put these buttresses in because one of them is HyperAdobe and one of them's Earthbag. And I wanted to know which one I liked better. And HyperAdobe for the win. Look, I've already got it stuccoed like a fake cliff. So, and then I poured concrete so that the bridge has, it's all stable now and square. So I cut the rebar. So this was my December project. The fake cliff, the HyperAdobe, the Earthbag, learning how to do that. The bridge will end up having a concrete skirt around it in the form of an arch, so the bridge will look really good, and that will be the same styrofoam concrete that's used on the roof. So this is just like my roof's going to be. Same materials, coyote fence. I just want to make sure that this will all work properly when I put it in my house, because this doesn't matter. If this falls down into the thing, I could pull it out and dispose of it. But the water for the cattle every year would run out in October. And so I dug this out when it ran out and got 45,000 gallons in here. Right now, you're looking at about 20,000, about halfway. And it probably could go 60,000 if it floods up and goes to, probably 60,000 if I include this part. But anyway, if it does that a couple of years, I'll dig it out some more. But you don't want a pond so big that it looks weird. You want to make sure that it fills up. I believe this will. The bridge is looking good. I've learned so much about Da Vinci construction, gravity. I am sure of my design ideas. This thing was built about half scale compared to what I want the roof to be, including the timbers. They're all been shrunk down. Where I'm going to use, you saw the timbers in the log pile that I'm making. So there you go. All right, everybody. So that's where a year goes for a do-it-yourself solo builder. And I'm not quite 2 years into this project from breaking ground, buying it, right? Buying it, breaking ground, establishing it. I'm not quite 2 years, but I'm heading up on it. If I had paid people to come, paid an electrician, paid drywall, paid blah, 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 I could build one of these in a year. If you have a partner, a life partner that's seriously committed to you, and I know Leah comes out, helps me from time to time, but I'm talking about an everyday life partner so that you're not going to getting groceries. You're not having to cook your own dinners. You're not having to, every piece of item on this farm that's moved, whether it's the smallest stone or the biggest log, I moved it. I gathered it. I did it. If the truck needed maintenance, I did the maintenance. If everything besides working a full-time job and building, everything else I've had to do myself as well. And in addition, I take vacations. I play with my grandson. I try to have one play date a week. It ends out about twice a month. I get a play date. I'm trying to live life not just a slave to work. But I'm also trying to make sure that I have this house around. I'm not that old of a guy, right? But it's appropriate time for me to plan for retirement. My kids are all grown, gone, and I need to take care of me so nobody else has to. And if I live to where my grandfather was, over 100 years old, that's another 45 years or more. Now, I'm open. I hate to say it. I'm open 70 and out. I've seen enough about life and learned enough about greed, and hate to be a little downer. I'm not. I'm excited about the next phase, the great pearly gates, the Beulah land. I have no problem. So with whatever comes next, I'm looking forward to it, in fact. But in the meanwhile, if I end up living another 40 years, I got to make sure other people aren't responsible for me, that I'm responsible for myself. Maybe I'll find a life partner that'll throw in with me. I don't know. Maybe Leah will decide that I factor into her life as a whole. I don't know. Who knows? We'll find out. But as a solo builder, you can pay people, get done a lot faster. Or if you have a little family, if I would have done this 30 years ago with my kids, they're hard working. I would have had a beautiful little spread here. So I do encourage you to consider solo building, but you're going to have to live like a Spartan. And in reflection of all of this, and I did have a pop-up trailer, in all of this, the most important thing that I think would have improved my life would have been a high-end RV. Now, I went to buy one on a credit card 2 years ago, it was just after COVID, and I had a big credit card that could hold an RV, and I said, I want to do this. I get points back. I get 3%. It's a lot of money, right? Back on 30,000 or whatever it would have been. And then, you can't buy them on credit card. I said, yes, I can. I can buy it and pay it off if I want. And they said, no, what happens is people buy them on credit cards and then they tow them out to Colorado or whatever, report the card fraud, and they keep, they keep everything and they lose the RV. So they wanted me to refinance, and I didn't want to finance with them. And, RVs are kind of a bad deal, to be honest. But if you're building, I'll make an exception for an RV and say that's the right way to go. I wish I would have done it.
So I got faith in you. If you want to be a solo builder, be a solo builder. I got faith in you. Just spend a little bit more money than me up front, and get yourself someplace that you can live comfortably while you do the rest of the work. But look, in a year I got the inside rough finished. I need to do the final fit and finish. I got most of the logging done that I need for my reciprocal ceiling. I got an outdoor kitchen, military style shower. I've got animals that I enjoy, chickens, horses, the land I'm taking care of, lots of equipment that I've acquired, and I'm doing maintenance on it as I go, lots of projects. I'll get that one finished up. And if I would have had help, I'm telling you, write down a plan, and I believe you can do it in a year. All right. Well, looking forward to 2025. I don't fear anything in the world, so I'm looking forward to whatever 2025 brings. This is Steve at 1000 Year Homes, my year-end review. Like, subscribe, follow me along. Bye.